3 days, that's how long you've been aboard. The ship goes dark. Not dim, dark. Every screen in the control room gone black at once.
Chief, that's the cold open? You're not even going to tell me what ship this is?
Not yet, sit down. Somewhere on that ship, right now, is a young engineer standing in front of a piece of machinery he has never personally started. He knows where it is. Nobody ever taught him what it actually does when everything else has failed. That gap between knowing where something is and knowing what it does. That gap is what we're here to close today. Welcome to the Standing Orders. I'm the Chief. This is Ramirez, my fourth engineer, and he's going to ask the questions you're too polite to ask on your first ship.
I ask plenty of questions. I just get them wrong sometimes.
We'll get to that. Today's order is about the walk. Every engineer who's ever joined a ship has heard the phrase familiarization. Most of them think it means somebody hands you a map. It doesn't. It means you put your own hands on the machinery before you ever need it in an emergency. And today I'm going to show you exactly what happens when that gap between knowing where and knowing what gets left open. Here's how it actually goes on most ships. You join. Somebody hands you a stack of forms. Familiarization checklist is in there, usually near the bottom. The off-signer wants to be on a plane in 6 hours. He walks you around fast, points at things, you nod, you sign.
I've done that. Everybody's done that.
I know, Solus and STCW both expect a real familiarization before you stand a watch alone. Not a form, a walk. The rule exists because the industry learned the hard way over and over that a signature is not the same thing as knowledge.
So what's the difference between the form and the real thing?
The form tells you a box was checked. The real thing puts your hand on a valve, your hand on a breaker, your hand on a switch, while somebody who already knows what happens next is standing next to you. You don't sign that you were shown the emergency generator. You sign after you've started it yourself. So before your first solo watch, here's the list. Not the list on the form, my list. Emergency generator, start it yourself. Don't just watch it start. Quick closing valves for the fuel tanks. Know which lever, which direction, and what it isolates. Fire dampers and the emergency escapes from your working spaces. Walk them in the dark, not just in daylight. The bilge system, know which pump takes over if the primary trips. Steering gear, know how to get to manual control if you lose the automatic system.
That's 5 things before my first watch.
That's 5 things before your first hour aboard. If I have anything to say about it,
Nobody has time for that on handover day. The off-signer's bags are already at the gangway. It's chaos.
I know it's chaos. I was a fourth engineer once too, Ramirez, and I signed a form I didn't mean on a ship where the outgoing second engineer was already thinking about his flight. 3 weeks later, I needed the emergency air compressor at 2 in the morning, and I did not know it had a manual priming step. I lost time. Nothing happened that night, but I never signed a form blind again.
So the chaos is the excuse. It's never actually a good reason.
It's never a good reason. It's just the reason everybody uses.
Okay, but some of this feels like it's not our problem. Like bridge design, dock structures, that's not engine room business.
Stop right there. That's the wrong instinct, and I want you to hear yourself say it so you remember this conversation.
What did I get wrong?
You're about to hear a case where the failure everyone remembers is a bridge falling down, but the failure that caused it never left the engine room.
A wire, a breaker, a pump, that's ours?
That's entirely ours, every piece of it. Nothing about what you're about to hear was a design problem on the bridge's side. It started below decks with exactly the kind of boring maintenance detail your first watch list is built to catch.
Now I want to hear it.
Good. Let's go to the case file. March 2024, Baltimore, Maryland. The container ship Dali, loaded outbound, approaching the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The NTSB published its final report on this casualty in December 2025, and I want to walk you through exactly what they found, because every piece of it lives in the engine room. The ship suffered a total blackout. Investigators traced the root cause to a single loose signal wire on a terminal block inside the ship's electrical system. A cable label had been installed improperly. It sat over the base of the connector so the connector could never fully seat. Vibration, over time, worked it loose. When it let go, it cut power. Power loss meant loss of propulsion. Loss of propulsion meant loss of steering.
One wire, one label installed wrong.
One wire. That's the headline everyone remembers. It is not the whole story, and I need you to sit with the rest of it. The high-voltage breakers on Dali were set to manual restoration, not automatic. Automatic mode restores power faster. The investigators calculated that automatic mode would have cut that blackout down to roughly 10 seconds. In manual mode, it ran 58 seconds. 48 extra seconds. That's the margin this ship didn't have.
48 seconds doesn't sound like much.
It's the difference between recovering steerage before the bridge and not recovering it at all. 48 seconds on a ship that size at that speed is the whole casualty. There's a third detail, and this is the one that should live in your chest, Ramirez, not just your head. During the recovery attempt, the crew had been running a flushing pump, a pump meant for cleaning systems, to supply fuel to the diesel generators. The NTSB calls this an operational oversight. That pump could not restore fuel pressure on its own after a power failure. It was never built for that job.
So it's not that the crew panicked. It's that a piece of equipment was being used for a purpose it was never designed for, and somebody didn't know that until it mattered.
That's exactly it. Nobody meant harm. Somebody just didn't know their own ship's systems cold enough in the moment it counted. The outcome: Dali lost propulsion and steering, struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and the bridge collapsed. 6 highway maintenance workers who were on the bridge that night died. One more piece, because it matters for the whole picture. The NTSB also found that no vulnerability assessment had ever been done on that bridge's pier protection against a vessel strike, despite industry guidance recommending one. That gap on the shore side is part of why the collision proved catastrophic and not survivable for the structure. I want to be precise with you here. I am not telling you dialogue from that engine room. Nobody has published what any individual crew member said that night, and I'm not going to invent it. What I'm giving you is the chain the investigators confirmed. A wire, a switch setting, a pump used outside its job. Every one of those is a small, boring, maintainable detail.
And every one of those is exactly what the walk is supposed to catch.
Say that again, because that's the whole lesson.
The walk isn't about knowing where the breaker is. It's about knowing what mode it's set to and why, and what happens if it's wrong.
That's it. That's the entire order. Standing order number 1. Knowing where your machinery is not the same as knowing its state. Know your breaker settings. Know your pump's real limits. Know it cold, or the ship will find out for you at the worst possible time.
Know it cold, or the ship will find out for you.
That's the order. Carry it. If this is your first watch or your 15th contract, go find your emergency generator this week. Not on the drawing. In the flesh. Start it yourself. Subscribe for standing order number 2. And tell me in the comments, what did nobody show you on your first ship that you had to learn the hard way?
I'll read every one of them, Chief. Somebody has to.
That's the 4th engineer's job, too.